Here's a fun game to play. While he talks, see if you can count how many times Pam says, "Who the fuck is that?" You know him from Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, and that's it. Please welcome the virtually anonymous Greg Giraldo.
Thank you, everybody. Jimmy Kimmel, isn't he doughy? Really? Isn't he about to be canceled? Keep it going for Jimmy Kimmel. Wow, that was great, Jim. I've never seen you be funny on TV before. Jimmy, how the hell is that show still on the air? That wasn't a premise to a joke. That was a real question. I don't want to say nobody watches it, but more people have seen Dennis Rodman reading. By the way, Pam, Kid Rock wanted to be here, but he got stuck in a 20-year-old. Corolla, look at you horse-toothed bastard. Corolla, you got a mouthful of 2x4s. Every time you smile, I remember to waterproof my deck. Corolla's an Italian word. It means one eyebrow. Have some dignity and stick to radio. You look like Pete Sampras with Down syndrome. And I'm, The Love Lines. Only in America. What a crappy show The Love Lines is. Yeah, teenagers calling in to complain about their abortions and their anal warts. It's like listening to the messages on Andy Dick's answering machine. Now, speaking of anal warts, good to see Courtney Love here. Courtney, what the hell happened to you? You had a great band, you're a very talented actress, and your career dried up faster than Sarah Silverman's pussy around guys who can't help her in the business. Good to see Eddie Griffin. Of course, Eddie Griffin. People said there wouldn't be any big movie stars here tonight, and they were right. Tommy Lee. Of course, it's tough to slam a guy for having a huge cock, but we've all seen a sex tape, Tommy, and I know the camera adds 5 inches, but Jesus, your cock is so huge I had to fast forward the tape to see all of it. My 5-year-old son walked in as I was watching it. Great, now I got to explain why the pretty blonde girl is being stabbed with the harpoon. Of course, that brings me to Pam, the beautiful goddess. Hi, Pam. Pam, I love you, Pam. I've been a fan of yours for so long, but I got to say, watching you in that sex tape was like a whole new experience for me, because up until then, I'd never seen anyone get gonorrhea before. That was weird. You're a vegetarian, but you have no trouble swallowing a moose cock. You're environmentally conscious, but you've caused more seed to be spilled in the Department of Agriculture. I've been a fan of yours for so long, and I feel terrible that you're going to get abused here today. Who are these nobodies? Who are these nobodies up here to make fun of you? People like Lisa Lampanelli. I'm sure she's going to come up here and be mean and fat. But you know what? Fuck her. You've been on the cover of Playboy so many times, and you didn't have to fuck Hugh Hefner to do it. You fucked him anyway, but you didn't have to. That's right. You didn't have to. You're multi-talented, you have a TV show, you're involved in lots of humanitarian causes, you've even written 2 novels. You're busier than Courtney's pharmacist. What's with the books, Pam? You have 2 novels out, 2 novels. You've now written more books than you've read. I love your show, Stacked. It shows your range and it proves to everyone that you can masturbate to a sitcom no matter how unfunny it is. I love it. Stacked. You get it? It's a double entendre. Yeah, you work in a bookstore. There's stacks there, and you're stacked, so we call it Stacked. That's hilarious. I love that. Okay, here's the idea, guys. She works in a jewelry store, and we call it Pearl Necklace. What do you think? You starring in a show about books and reading is like Tom Cruise starring in a show about vaginas. All right. I will say this, Pam. I am seriously a giant fan of yours, and we're going to make fun of you a lot here, but to get to the level you've gotten is true genius. It really is absolute genius. People cannot help but love you. People can't help but love you. You got unbelievable talent, and you're America's sweetheart. You're a Canadian, but those tits were made in America. Thank you very much.
Gregory Carlos Giraldo was an American stand-up comedian, television personality, and lawyer. He is remembered for his appearances on Comedy Central's televised roast specials, and for his work on that network's television shows Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, Louis Black's Root of All Evil, and the programming block Stand Up Nation, the last of which he hosted. Giraldo was born in the Bronx and raised in Bayside, Queens. His father, Alfonso, was from Colombia and worked for Pan Am, and his mother, Dolores, was from Spain. Giraldo was raised Roman Catholic and spoke fluent Spanish. He was the oldest of 3 children, brother John and sister Elizabeth. Giraldo played the guitar in a band in his late teens/early 20s. Giraldo was an excellent student and received an academic scholarship to the private Jesuit Regis High School in Manhattan. After graduating from Regis in 1983, he earned a bachelor's degree in English from Columbia University in 1987. While at Columbia, he was an active member of the Psi Upsilon fraternity. Giraldo was admitted to Harvard Law School after achieving a near-perfect score on his law school admission test, LSAT, scoring in the 99th percentile of students taking the test. He earned a JD degree from Harvard Law School in 1990. Giraldo passed the bar and began a career as a lawyer, working for 8 months as an associate for Skadden, ARPs, Slate, Marr and Flom before changing his occupation. In 1993, Giraldo provided pro bono defense counsel services to his friend and fellow comedian Jeffrey Ross, who was charged with inciting a riot. Ross was performing at a comedy club on Long Island when a member of the audience pulled out a toy gun that looked real. Ross grabbed the gun and fought with the man for control. He was arrested in the incident. When Ross went to court to face the charges, Greg volunteered to be my attorney as a favor. I remember we slept in his parents' basement in Queens. We drove to court in a Jeep and had dirty blue sport jackets on. It took him 2 tries, but he got the case dismissed. Giraldo said that, at the time of the case, he had never litigated in a courtroom before. When the case was upgraded to a weapons charge, he had nearly told Ross to plead guilty, which would have resulted in his friend serving jail time. The judge called us over, and I had to plead, "I have no idea what I'm doing here." We ended up having to get a real lawyer and come back a month later, said Giraldo. Giraldo found that, although he did well in law school, he did not like the practice of corporate law. His family was disappointed that Giraldo left law practice, but he said, "I always wanted to do something creative. I've always had real trouble knowing what my actual desires and goals are. I've just been dragged along by fate. I can't even tell you why I thought to go to law school. Because I went to Harvard Law School, it seemed like I had my shit together, but I did only because it's not hard. Everyone is so self-motivated that they leave you alone. You get study outlines and just cram, but then when you get out into the real world, it gets tricky. Most comedians are people who couldn't really work in the real world. They're too disorganized, too lazy, too fucked up, too erratic, too unstable. If you could work in the real world, you would have stayed there, because it is so many years of misery in comedy before you really start popping." In August 2000, Giraldo was featured in an Esquire magazine article that profiled several members of the Harvard Law School class of 1990 who ended up choosing career paths other than law. After turning to comedy, Giraldo rarely discussed his prior career. The Esquire article was one of the few times that he referred to his time as a lawyer.